Over the past year, China and Australia have been involved in an economic tug-of-war. Billions of dollars have been lost, but what started this conflict? What we do know is this once bustling trade relationship has drifted oceans apart. February 13th, 2020. The Australian Dumping Commission assesses a possible continuation of dumping duties on Chinese aluminum extrusions. Anti-dumping duty is a tax on dumped imports that threaten to compete with Australian businesses. February 17th, 2020. The Commission initiates an anti-dumping investigation against China, looking at the sales of aluminum micro-extrusions which are used for domestic window flat screens and television aerials and made by two Chinese companies in Guangdong. February 28th, 2020. Australia concludes following a review it will continue to impose anti-dumping duties on Chinese stainless steel sinks. March 31st, 2020. Australia initiates an anti-dumping investigation into cheap precision pipe and tube steel from China, South Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam. April 16th, 2020. The Commission initiates another anti-dumping investigation into A4 copy paper exported by China, Brazil, Indonesia, and Thailand. April 21st, 2020. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison discusses a probe into the origins of the pandemic with world leaders, including U.S. President Donald Trump, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and French President Emmanuel Macron. May 11th, 2020. China bans imports from 4 major Australian meat processing plants. May 13th, 2020. The Australian Dumping Commission concludes, following a review, it will continue to impose anti-dumping duties on Chinese silicone metal. May 18th, 2020. China confirms an 80.5% tariff on Australian barley exports following the conclusion of its anti-dumping investigations. May 27th, 2020. Australia initiates an anti-dumping investigation into painted steel strapping from China and Vietnam. June 30th, 2020. Australia's anti-dumping investigation widens to include aluminum zinc-coated steel from China and Vietnam. July 10th, 2020. The Australian Dumping Commission assesses the possible continuation of duties on Chinese steel reinforcing bars. July 13th, 2020. Australia initiates an anti-dumping investigation into copper tubes from China and South Korea. July 27th, 2020. The Australian Dumping Commission assesses the possible continuation of dumping duties on Chinese hot-rolled rods in coils of steel. August 18th, 2020. China's Ministry of Commerce confirms it has started an anti-dumping investigation into Australian wine imports following a complaint from the China Alcoholic Drinks Association. August 25th, 2020. China Mengyu Dairy confirms it will not acquire Japanese drinks company Kirin Holdings' Australia-based asset Lion Dairy and Drinks after failing to get approval from the Australian government. August 31st, 2020. China announces a countervailing investigation into subsidized Australian wine imports. August 31st, 2020. China halts barley imports from Australia's CBH Grain, the country's biggest grain shipping company, because harmful weeds were allegedly found in the cargo. October 12th, 2020. China verbally bans Australian thermal and coking coal imports. October 16, 2020. China begins discouraging its spinning mills from using Australian cotton. October 30th, 2020. China Customs bans imports of log timber from Queensland and grain imports from Emerald Grain, while it also delays imports of Australian lobster. November 6th, 2020. Australian coal, barley, timber, lobster, wine, copper, and sugar face blocks at Chinese ports due to verbal bans. November 11th, 2020. Chinese Customs officially bans imports of timber from Victoria. November 12th, 2020. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin says Australia's excessive public criticisms of political issues in Xinjiang, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, and its constant slander of China without evidence, has poisoned the relationship. November 15th, 2020. China and Australia joined 13 other nations in signing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. November 17th, 2020. China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Chao Lijian says China bears no responsibility for the collapse in bilateral ties. November 18th, 2020. Australian Trade Minister Simon Birmingham says Canberra has reached out to Beijing at every possible level. November 28th, 2020. China imposes temporary anti-dumping measures ranging from 107 to 212% on Australian wine imports. December 7th, 2020. Australian Trade Minister Simon Birmingham makes his firmest commitment yet on taking legal action against China at the World Trade Organization over duties on Australian barley. December 8th, 2020. China suspends beef imports from another Australian meat processing plant. December 10th, 2020. China imposes temporary anti-subsidy duties ranging from 6.3 to 6.4% on Australian wine imports, on top of anti-dumping duties imposed November 28th. December 21st, 2020. The WTO confirms Australia has logged an appeal against China's tariffs on Australian barley. The events over the past 12 months has seen these partners' once prosperous trade relationship deteriorate to where it is today, and now dozens of Australian ships sit off the coast of China waiting to unload coal, as rumors of power shortages circulate in China. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it informative, please consider giving the channel a subscribe.